Welcome to Bridging the Bayou, where we will explore what it means to work, live, and play in the Bayou region. Join us as we take a deeper dive into the people and experiences that make our region such a special place to live and work. On each podcast, we will talk to individuals who are making our region grow and go, who are making strides in uplifting our community. This is a podcast of Fletcher Technical Community College. Hello, and welcome to Bridging the Bayou, a podcast of Fletcher Technical Community College. We are so excited to have everyone with us for our very first episode today, and we are honored to welcome the Louisiana Community and Technical College System President, Dr. Monty Sullivan. Welcome to the podcast.
Excited to be with you, and Chancellor, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's always good to be down on the Bayou, but certainly being a part of Bridging the Bayou podcast, what an honor. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, we are glad you are here. So one of the things that is going to be a signature hallmark of Bridging the Bayou is going to be what I'm calling our 5 and 5. So we have 5 questions for you, about 5 minutes to answer, and we just want to get to know you a little bit better. So we're going to start off with just maybe having you share a little bit about your background.
Sure.
And tell us what has inspired you to pursue a career in higher education, and even more specifically in community and technical college education.
Sure. You know, born and raised in Louisiana, about as far away from home of Thibodaux as you can possibly be, and that is the northeast corner of the state in West Carroll Parish. Grew up in a community that has generational poverty, a community that has struggled economically for many, many years. And so when you watch individuals that you grow up with in your own hometown that struggle economically without an ability to be able to get out, it impacts you. And so from my perspective, I watched family members, my mother's youngest sister, who was the first in our family to get a college degree. She drove an old beat-up station wagon about an hour and a half one way to get an RN degree. There was no community college in our part of the world at that time. And so that's what really has driven me along the way, getting into education and frankly being bitten by the bug, that I think this is a mission that chooses you. You really don't necessarily always choose it. And I could not be more excited about the work that we're having an opportunity to do, and to be that young kid that grew up in a community where you didn't have a community college, and today to have the opportunity to work with 12 of the best two-year colleges in the country, that to me is exciting. And so I'm just blessed and thankful to have that opportunity.
Yeah, that's great. And we are lucky that it chose you. That's for sure. Why don't you tell us about a book maybe that has had a significant impact on your life?
Sure. And I think the easy answer for most folks is the Bible, and certainly that's the first to go to. But I think there's so many others from a strategy point of view, from a personable humility perspective, that have really helped me to understand life. One of those books may come across a little gruff at times, but The Art of War. The Art of War is an incredibly insightful text. I read it a number of times over the years. It has such different meaning to me each time because of where we are in life and the kinds of the decisions that you're dealing with. But from a strategy point of view, it has been impactful to me. I will say to you that there's a very direct connection in my mind between the Bible and so much of what we do from a faith point of view and the work that we do in this mission. And so both of those two texts have just been incredible influences in my life.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing. Sure. So next up, what are some life lessons that you have learned along your journey that you wish you would have known earlier?
You know, I think the one that Tommy Williams, that you and I were talking about a little bit earlier, the great lesson that Tommy Williams taught all of us in his time in our organization is that of humility. Life will teach you humility, whether you like it or not. And I think oftentimes it takes us walking down that path and learning the lesson of humility to understand the reasons why you do the work matter. And if your reasoning is for personal gain, for personal accolades, you're not going to make it far in this business, because the trade-off of the work that is involved and at times the difficulty make it such that the risk is not worth the reward, or the reward is not worth the risk. And so doing this work for personal gain simply doesn't work. It's about lifting other people. That's where the real magic happens, is seeing people go from where they are to what they can be in life. That excitement is what this mission is really about.
Yeah, what a beautiful message. And I know so many of us have been impacted by Tommy and his message all along our career journeys. And so what a legacy.
A good man.
Yeah, what a legacy he has left for us. All right. So what do you do to unwind and recharge when you are not being system president?
My favorite
Are
thing.
you ever not system president?
Well, as you and I know, it is difficult at times to flip the switch, right? And to turn that switch off and to be myself. I think the one thing that I spend a lot of time doing is to try to be the same person as president that I am in my daily life. And that's not always an easy thing because people have an expectation of the president acting in a certain way. And oftentimes what I think one of the greatest skills that I bring to this job, I believe, is the common approach, the common sense approach, the just doing the right thing for the right reasons. And for me, that has been a big driver here. But what do I do for downtime? I got 6 grandbabies. I love getting those grandbabies all together and watching them laugh and cut up. The oldest now is, believe it or not, approaching 10 years old. And the little ones the smallest one is just over a year. So it is incredible to watch those grandbabies, getting them out. Kelly and I have a piece of property up in Northeast Louisiana, getting those babies out on the property and allowing them to rip and run and kind of enjoy life. That's what really recharges me, because giving back to my own family and to see them grow, to have opportunities that perhaps others haven't had, that to me is where I spend my time outside of work.
Very good, very good. And our last in the 5 for 5 is, do you have a mentor or maybe a figure or somebody who has greatly influenced your life who you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, many of them, many educators along the way. From an ag teacher who taught 55 years, who was a veteran of the Second World War, to the superintendent eventually who taught me things about agriculture and forestry and horticulture that still sticks with me today. But I will have to say to you that those were the people that influenced my early life. The person that probably has had the most impact on my life is my wife. The story that she lived of dropping out of high school at 16 at Pineville High School and not having a future, to a person today that got up this morning and was out of the house at 4:15 because she's a surgery nurse, a registered nurse who came from a family of people who had no college background, but today is a registered nurse because she found her path. Living that every day at my house grounds my work in a way that I can't really even describe, because you see those frustrations, you see the pressure points of our students that oftentimes happen in their minds, and you don't ever get to hear it. But when you're there every day to hear your own wife say, "I'm not sure I can do this," to be the voice to say, "You can do this," and to be right there along their side, living the mission and working in the mission at the same time has been one of the greatest gifts God has given me on this planet.
Oh, how wonderful. And it's such a good point, because I think that the work that we do across these 12 institutions, really, we do that for so many individuals in every single community around this state. So there are so many Kelly Sullivans out there that we are reaching out to every single day.
Exactly.
And making those impacts for them and guiding them along that journey. So how wonderful.
Incredible. And I think about, examples right here at Fletcher. Falcons like Mike Jones.
Yeah.
When I think about people that have found their path, they found their passion, and not only are they out living that dream, but now they have a responsibility to others, because now they know the path. And to me, the excitement of seeing others succeed and then reaching back to help others, that to me is how Louisiana gets better.
100% agree. 100% agree. Well, now I want to talk a little bit about LCTCS,
Yeah, sure.
right? And so first, let's just start maybe with a little bit of a history. Talk to us about the system and how you've seen technical and community college evolve along the time, especially since you've been with the system.
Sure. So October 8, 1998 is a date that is just sort of seared into my head. It was a Saturday, a day that the people of Louisiana had an opportunity to vote into existence a community and technical college system. Now, places like Fletcher existed long before October 8, 1998, and did tons of work in this community, going back to 50 plus years. You have been a staple in this community. But collectively, as a system, we really didn't have a collective approach. And so then Governor Mike Foster had a vision of a workforce engine for this state. He didn't name a number of colleges. He didn't name a number of programs or campuses. He just simply said the state of Louisiana needs a workforce engine. Now, what happened from that 1998 timeframe forward is a movement that went to 16 colleges, then to 12 colleges, morphing and changing, but always focused on being aligned with the needs of the community. That alignment is the strength of our colleges, because ultimately what we are doing is we're reaching into the community and finding individuals who need an education and skills, aligning them with the local employers and putting them in touch, making sure they have the skills, making sure they have the relationships so that they can leverage the relationships that the college has built over the years to be able to go to work with some of the biggest names in the region. So community and technical colleges in Louisiana were sort of late to the game. In fact, it's unfortunate, but a reality. In the 1960s and 70s, we started many two-year colleges in Louisiana. But many of them believed that their job was to grow up to become a four-year institution, when in fact, we now understand that the mission of the two-year college and the university is night and day different. And what Louisiana needs today, with 41.5% of our people not working or looking for work, we need more of our community and technical colleges educating and skilling the masses of Louisiana to make sure that people can go out, find that job, work an honest day's pay, work an honest day's work for an honest day's pay, and contribute to this economy overall. 12 colleges today, 160, 150,000 students in any given year. This past year, our largest graduating class ever, 35,000 students. Louisiana's community and technical colleges are on the map nationally because of the great work that we're doing. Community and technical colleges were not viewed in the 1990s as necessarily a really high-profile entity. What has happened in the last 25 years in Louisiana has been lifting community and technical colleges and that mission so that everyone understands the role. We now see ourselves as a leader nationally as a result. That's what's exciting to me. Louisiana has not been a leader in education and workforce historically, but in this space, we are changing lives every single day that is changing the future of Louisiana.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. 100%. And you talk about the largest graduating class, you talk about all of the really incredible things that are happening around the state and the community colleges, but I know that there are certainly some challenges that we face, right? Mm-hmm. And I know we're up to that task, but I'd like to hear from you. Can you maybe expound upon what do you see as the challenges and what do you see as our role in addressing them, or how are our colleges going to go about stepping up to the plate to solve those challenges?
Look, the reality is Louisiana's community and technical colleges have something that nearly every business in Louisiana would want, and that is unlimited demand. We literally have 1.1 million adults, 25 to 64, who have a high school diploma or less. That means there are literally over 1 million people in Louisiana who need what we do. That demand continues to escalate daily because skills requirements are increasing in the job market. And so people who are out of that job market and don't have skills are left on the sidelines. We collectively can't afford to be in that position. This region has been incredible in the last decade with leadership on the legislative front. This region has produced incredible leaders that have been the people who have made financial decisions on behalf of Louisiana, who now understand the important role that our graduates play in the state's revenue picture. So that direction, I think, has been really positive. The challenges, frankly, we have a policy environment in Louisiana that does not match with the demands of our marketplace. The marketplace is saying to us that we need more people with skills. Meanwhile, in the state of Louisiana, we are spending, of the total dollar in higher education, we are spending 77 cents on every dollar at four-year institutions to produce more baccalaureate degrees, when in fact we're spending 23% of the higher ed dollar at two-year colleges, where we have exceptional need. We have incredible growth trajectory. We've grown from 12,500 graduates to over 35,000 this year. It is where Louisiana has needs. The fact of the matter is that if we educated every single person 18 years old to exactly the jobs in the marketplace, it would take us over a decade to meet the job demand that exists today.
Wow.
If we don't grab people that today are not in the job market and get them the skills they need and into the economy, Louisiana's future is in peril.
Wow. Yeah. And what a call to action.
Yes.
That really is. Not just for the community and technical colleges and all the individuals who work there, but for our communities and for our state policymakers, for everyone, really.
Everyone.
It's got to be a group effort.
I'm glad you said it that way, because I do believe that this is not an effort that is limited to community and technical colleges. This is a much bigger discussion about the future of the people of Louisiana.
Absolutely. So, you've talked a lot about meeting workforce, right? Meeting the workforce demands, meeting business and industry where they are. I know that's one of the things that, as a chancellor here at Fletcher, and I know my colleagues across the state, we talk all the time about. And so, but one of the things that we're learning, especially as technology is advancing so quickly, is that we have to be able to be responsive to the industry needs, to the changing workforce demands of our state, especially as we try to entice and recruit new business and industry into the state. And I'm just wondering, how do you see the community and technical colleges' role in pivoting, in how we go about aligning ourselves to this new industry and new technology that's coming in? And I'd also be interested just to hear from you, like, how do you lead a system of 12 and make sure that we all continue to innovate and to pivot when necessary?
That's right. One of the most important aspects of the mission of community colleges is being nimble and being responsive to the market. Across time from 2009-10 to probably 2015, we had many people who said, we need our colleges to be more responsive to the market. What they were asking for was not really what they didn't fully appreciate what they were asking for. Because when you are responsive to the market, you're also subject to the market. And so ultimately, we literally had colleges that closed as a result of being responsive to the market. When the price of oil goes from $100 a barrel to under $40 a barrel, the reality is this community changed. And as a result, we had to shutter one college. So those are realities, and our colleges are nimble in the sense that we recognize the mission still exists. The work still needs to be done. We just have to find a way to do it differently so that we can maximize the resource that we have to ensure that the business need is met, that the individual is lifted in their own community, and overall, we've made these communities better. We've stabilized these communities. We've stabilized individuals. Oftentimes, the frustration is that higher education is viewed as a place where 18-year-olds go to have a social experience. That is troubling when 77 cents on the dollar is going to create an improved social experience, when 23 cents on the dollar is being paid for those individuals who need a hand up in life. They simply need an opportunity to be skilled, to go to work, to make a living, and take care of themselves and their families. It's just that simple. So the higher education discussion in our state has shifted dramatically from this notion of funding institutions to how do we lift people. That, to me, is the great transition point that we have witnessed, all of us. And my hope is that we'll continue to march in a direction that is more and more about how we lift people and less about how we keep the doors open on institutions.
Wow. Yeah. And we have so many individuals in our state who need what the community colleges offer. And so, making sure that we find ways to tie them to the institution, to connect them to the institution, right? To make sure that they're able to access those skills. Because we talk about this all the time here at Fletcher on, students who need to be in a space where they can get that skill.
Right.
Because they need that work, because they need a higher salary to take care of their families, because they need the next progression in their career path, right? And whether it's supporting children or caring for elderly parents or just being able to sustain their own lives, right? They need to be connected. And oftentimes it's I've heard you say this a number of times, the greatest challenge our students face is time.
That's it.
And so, that many of them don't have that 4-year runway.
Without a doubt. And, your example of the lineman program, that when that lineman program came about, we didn't develop it as 16-week semester, start in August and finish in May or whatever the time frame was. We started it as quickly as we could. And we ran that program in a time frame that allowed individuals to get multiple certifications and to step out directly into a job. What happened as a result is the old notion of I'm either a transfer student going to a baccalaureate degree institution or I'm going to go directly into the workforce. The reality is more and more of our workforce students are coming back to us after working for a few years to gain the general education courses they need to get the baccalaureate degree in a very different form. So this notion of I'm either a baccalaureate bound student or I'm a workforce student, there is tons of evidence nationally to show that the Bachelor's of Applied Science is a much better tool of a baccalaureate degree where somebody has gone in and learned a set of skills. Healthcare is a good example, or lineman certifications. That individual goes out and goes to work and a middle management job comes available. Now that associate degree is a big deal to them. So the notion that we are trying to fill the workforce needs by producing bachelor's degrees here and technical certifications here, it is not that clean. The reality is people's lives are available at certain times based upon the circumstances they may be dealing with. They needed to be able to walk onto your campus, get that certification or those certifications in 10 weeks, and go to work at $55,000 a year. That throughput of going from minimum wage to $55,000 a year is what our mission is all about.
Yeah. And it takes me back. It's funny that you say that because I remember when I first enrolled in a baccalaureate degree, and one of the things my advisors told me, my mentors told me, was before you go on to any type of advanced degree, you needed to go get some work experience.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because that was going to make you not only a better student, but it was going to ground what you were learning in the classroom in your studies. And so we're really talking about the same concept.
Without a doubt.
Very, very much. Yes. And I'm really glad you mentioned our line worker program. Sure. We are particularly proud of that here at Fletcher, but I think it is a prime example of the innovation that exists, not just here at Fletcher, but across our state. And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about what you see us doing that's new, that you're excited about, that's innovative, that you think is really going to help our system change our state.
So I'm going to point out one that I think probably most people would not recognize as being a point of pride, but it is a point of pride today because of what we have walked through. Most recently, we dealt with a storm that came right through this community. I mean, right on the nose. Yeah. And that storm passed through in the evening. The next morning at 8:30, I had in my email inbox a report from Chancellor Strickland who said, here's the status of our facilities. 8:30 a.m., the morning following a storm's landfall. The sense of responsibility and the sense of urgency to protect the asset that is Fletcher Technical Community College and the role it plays in this community. That is the shift and change of people recognizing the value of this institution and a leader who understands that how I act and how I value this institution changes how others value the institution. Incredible work that you're doing here at Fletcher Technical Community College, but it's showing the importance of the entity, the importance of the institution. This college has changed lives of thousands of people in this community, and it will change thousands more as we go forward. I think about some of the programs that we have. Mechatronics is a great example in the New Orleans market, where we literally have 3 institutions that are offering up their resources and faculty that allow students to be able to rotate between 3 different institutions, gaining 21 different certifications, and having 3 different experiences with 3 different manufacturers. That is the work of institutions coming together, putting aside their own mission, putting aside their own logo and label, and instead saying, how do we lift people better? And what we have seen now, our I believe, 4th cohort of that mechatronics program, we're just seeing incredible results. Another great point in that 35,000 graduates, in the COVID year, we produced about 4,000 healthcare graduates. 2024, we've doubled that number to 8,000. How did we do that? We did that out of partnership with the Louisiana legislature, who provided $25 million as a bolus to make sure that we had the healthcare workers we needed following COVID. That 8,000 graduates, next year we believe will be 10,000. And so the question that I think all of us have to ask is, to what extent is Louisiana vulnerable as a result of a lack of a healthcare workforce? I think our healthcare outcomes are in part driven by the workforce that is providing the healthcare. So our job is to make sure that we scale up so that the people in the communities have the healthcare resource that they need. This is, one of the key themes that I hope you get out of this is it's not about our colleges. It's about the people, and it's about lifting people. It's about putting together the job opportunity with the person who needs that job and who is willing to go out and gain the skills. So the future for us, I think, is incredibly bright. It is the innovation, though. It is the willingness of a group of leaders to say, you know what, we don't have as many resources as most. We have some challenges in our communities with the data, right? But the reality is we're willing to roll up our sleeves and go do the work and lift people. That's the fun part of this, is 12 chancellors out there every day in their own regions, doing their own thing within the context of their community, aligning their college to do well by others.
Yeah, and such a good point that I think every day, you know, I suit up in my Fletcher Falcon jersey.
Yes.
And I run towards this college and I get really excited about our mission and what we get to do for this community. But I also recognize that I have 11 other colleagues out there and we're all trying to do the same thing.
Yes.
And so, you know, one of the things that we've done here is we've partnered with Central Louisiana Technical Community College in Alexandria to help them in that healthcare space.
Yes.
And so, yes, we have on that Fletcher jersey, but at the same time, we're wearing a Louisiana jersey because we recognize that we've got to help all people across the state.
I think about people in central Louisiana who get up in the morning at 4 and are headed down to have a procedure done. Will they have surge techs? Will they have nurses? Who will do the procedure? That is what comes from our colleges. And so if you don't have access to that workforce, you don't get the procedure. And the fact that we have a network of 12 leaders that are willing to come together to solve problems for communities and put aside logos and all the other things, that to me says we are having the impact that Governor Mike Foster hoped for back in 1998.
Yeah. And you know, one of the things, too, along those lines of meeting sort of the individual student where they are. So, right, not about the institution, but about the individual who walks through these doors and says, I want a better, different life for myself and or my family. You know, at Fletcher, we try to continue to innovate. And this past year or so, we have implemented a new, what we call a quality enhancement plan.
Right.
But it has been very specifically tailored and built so that we meet individual students where they are. And it's conversations that we're having with students about, what do you need?
Yes.
This isn't a one-size-fits-all college.
Right.
My community has heard me say that a number of times, but it really is about saying, you know, hey, Monty, you're coming through our doors. Do you need childcare? Do you need help with transportation? Do you have the funding available to you to afford tuition and fees or books? You know, if you're entering healthcare, can we help you with, you know, your scrubs or whatever that is? But each student comes in with really unique and specialized needs. And I think that that's one of the things that our colleges do really well is sort of meet individuals where they are, provide those wraparound resources that fits them so that they can get to that point where they're wearing the cap and gown and they're wearing the alumni pin as they cross that stage. So really good things, I think, happening in the system in that respect.
Without a doubt. I can't help but point out, though, that the questions that we talk with the students about, none of them are about the things that we've all thought mattered for so long. You didn't ask the question, what'd you make on the ACT? Right. You didn't ask the question, did you graduate from high school? You asked the question about all of the light peripheral things that get in the way of success in the classroom. These students have the ability to learn. You have to start from there. If you don't believe that every student has the ability to learn, you can't work in this mission. And the fact of the matter is, to have some people sitting on the sidelines is just not acceptable for us.
Yeah. Well, and it goes to the point that, you know, academically, you are right spot on. Academically, our students, I would put them up against any student at any college or university across the United States. Academics is often not the hurdle to getting to graduation. Right. It is all of the other things that happen as life happens, as that time, as we just talked about, right? The longer the time is, the more opportunity, quite frankly, there are for hurdles to get in front of our students that prevent them from completing. And so that's why I think it is really important that we look at how do we create experiences and create specifically an educational experience where students can get the skills they need, can show that they can demonstrate that they are proficient in those skills, and let's get them to work.
That's it.
Right? And they can still continue their educational journey. It just doesn't necessarily have to be in a linear path like we think about higher education a lot of times.
You know, you hit upon something that I think is one of the greatest changes in higher education that I've experienced in my own career, and that is that education began as a one-shot deal. 4 years at a four-year institution, You went home, you went to work. Obviously, graduate programs change that trajectory a bit, but the reality is that adults, even those pursuing baccalaureate degrees, are attending college in iterative fashion. They're going to college for a while, they're working for a while. They're going to college for a while, they're working for a while. Oftentimes doing both. And so that experience that you talked about earlier of having job experience that goes along with your learning, for many of our students, it's a natural. We want them working. We want them to have the experience of learning customer service, as an example, as they get their CDL, because those are going to be important skill sets that go together for them. So look, there's so many different ways that this mission works for people that you can't even imagine all of the possibilities, and that's the fun part.
Yeah. With that, we haven't really touched a whole lot on it, but we have a variety of different missions.
Yes.
We have the traditional transfer. You want to
Yes.
go on to a 4-year, you can do that. We also have that capability of attending the community college to go into the workforce.
Right.
But we also do work with students who haven't achieved their high school diploma or equivalency yet. Do you want to maybe just take a moment to talk
Yeah.
about the work we do with the high set?
Look, I tell you, it's the area that I started in this business, right? I was headed off to law school, and after a couple of weeks at LSU Law School, realized that wasn't my future, and returned to Louisiana Tech. I'm a graduate assistant. The very first job opportunity that came about, I took it, and it was in adult basic education in the little town of Arcadia. At about 7 in the evening, time had already changed. It's about this time of the year. This gentleman came in, and he was a big burly fellow. I reached out and I shook his hand and I said, "My name is Monty. How can I help you?" He said, "I'm here to get a GED." This fellow, if you could just picture him for a second, big fellow, overalls, red hair, big red beard. You could smell him before you saw him. He'd been cutting pulpwood all day. He came in, and after about 2 to 3 months, we were able to get him through completion of the GED. He walked across the stage on a Saturday morning with his wife and kids there with him, so excited. But on Monday, he got up and he went back to work cutting pulpwood. That was my first student. It took me a full 15 years to realize that I had let him down. I'd helped him to get a high school equivalency, but it didn't change his life. When he walked into that room that day, the words that he used were words that others had taught him. "I am here to get a GED." Because someone had said to him, "If you get the GED, life will get better." But I sold him short because I didn't leave him with the skills that he needed to improve his life for himself and his family. And so for me, the adult basic education mission is a mission that I have a responsibility to, and all of us do. You know people in this community who do not have a high school diploma. It is not a scarlet X. It is instead something that happens to people because of life. It is not about decimals, commas. It's not about multiplication. It's not about long division. It's instead about a life circumstance that allows you to stay in school. When family goes wrong, oftentimes school goes wrong. Things intercede into life that causes people not to be able to finish their education. It is not a sign of their intelligence. It is instead a sign of their personal life circumstance. And so one of the jobs that we have in adult basic education is to make sure that not only are we helping people to get a high school diploma, but more important than that is that we're giving them the ability to learn, and we're giving them a technical skill that allows them to go to work in that first job. Now it's up to them to turn that first job into the second, the third, and the fourth with additional skills. Adult basic education, 600,000 adults in Louisiana have no high school diploma. We're working every day to see how we can improve that. But here's what's happened around us, and this is part of the innovation piece. It's so exciting because so much of what has taken place in the technical education space is now simulation-based. And so for this adult education market that may have some challenges with reading, may have some challenges with mathematics, now they can literally get into a dozer, as an example, and operate a dozer and understand the technical circumstances of how to make sure that that dozer is balanced, how to make sure that they're accomplishing the job in the way that they should. What you will find is many of these individuals are incredibly skilled, particularly with dexterity kinds of things, which make them great employees for operating equipment. So we've got to do a better job of making sure people understand that not finishing high school doesn't mean you can't learn. It simply means you're going to need to take a different path to get to where others are. But we have watched it happen time and again. I mentioned one of the students who was an incredible example right here at Fletcher, but we could name many who have been through these certifications now. This is what leads us to the place where our federal policy says that a program has to be 600 hours in length in order to be valuable enough for federal financial aid. That's crazy. We can teach people in less than 600 hours how to do some really incredible things. And so shouldn't we want the nation's talent fund, the Pell Grant, to be available for people to learn things that are 150 hours in length? Yes, we've got to be able to expand this market. What has happened across time, I think this is a really important visual. Across time, the population that needed a college education or an education beyond K-12 has continued to increase exponentially. Knowledge has increased exponentially as well. Our responsibility is to make sure that that knowledge is able to be spread across a broader cross-section of the American population. And so that means smaller bites, that means more iterative instruction, and that means people being able to have the skills to take care of themselves long-term. Louisiana is perfectly positioned to be the nation's laboratory for how you lift people to the middle class through technical education.
Amen. I'm just going to say it, right? Amen. And the jobs that are out there. Just recently, I was helping a student look for a job, and we came across a position that was a forklift driver. It was at one of the ports, $23 an hour.
Right.
That's a skill and a certification you can earn here at Fletcher in a matter of hours.
Right.
The difference that might make in a person's life to go from something where maybe they're making minimum wage or maybe just above minimum wage to $23 an hour after a few hours of training, hands-on experience is just mind-blowing to me. Those jobs are out there.
Yes, with benefits, by the way.
With benefits,
and
right.
That's a bigger part of it.
Yeah, and the other piece that I just always enjoy, too, when I get to visit with students who are in our adult basic education program is the confidence they're getting.
Yes.
You know, at some point along their journey, they lost confidence, I think, when life got in the way of whether or not that school was for them.
Right.
And so to be able to walk into a classroom and see that interaction and to see the spark that's in their eyes that, hey, I can do this. And not only can I do this, I can go on and continue to get a new skill or learn something new that's going to improve my life. That really, I think, speaks to the beauty of our mission.
Yeah. And that fire, at that point, just get out of the way. They're going to succeed, right? And that the fire that they now have, that they understand, yes, they can. Yep. Yes, they can. That to me, there's a lot that is beautiful about this mission. But to me, that's the real reward in this work.
Great. So I'm going to give you a magic wand.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
And with this magic wand, I want you to tell us if you could change one thing in Louisiana's education, workforce development policies, what would it be?
Yeah. I would very simply have the dollars flow to solve the problems that the state of Louisiana has that are most pressing. Right now, I mentioned to you a second ago, our colleges, 12 institutions producing 35,000 graduates a year. That is one half of the state's production in higher education, producing one half of the graduates, but yet receiving 23 cents on the dollar. I'm not suggesting to you that we should shift, hundreds of millions of dollars away from other institutions. That's not the point. The point's not to close some other institution. The point is to provide the resource to lift people in Louisiana. Because ultimately what happens is, if we're able to lift our people at the level that we believe we can, we will generate enough revenue from the graduates of LCTCS colleges to fund our four-year institutions, to fund TOPS, and to fund all of the other needs that the state of Louisiana has. That is the goal. That's the vision. It's not about fighting. It's instead about coming together and solving the most pressing need that we have now, putting more people into the workforce. That 41.5% of the people who are not working nor looking for work, if we simply were at the national average, we would save the state of Louisiana $7 billion from its annual budget. Just simply by being average in terms of the number of people participating in the economy. We have a responsibility at two-year colleges to make sure that that job gets done, because everything else in the state of Louisiana depends upon it, up to and including one of the things that we are most precious to us, our people and our culture. Louisiana's people are leaving the state in numbers that is frightening. The responsibility that we have to the people that are staying is to make sure that they have the job opportunities, because here's what's happening. We're educating our young people. They're finding jobs in Houston and Dallas and Atlanta. The fact of the matter is the relationship between universities and two-year colleges all comes down to employment mix. The ratio is 1-to-7. For every professional engineer, 2 positions typically required baccalaureate degrees and 7 technicians to support that role. If the 7s are not there, the engineering position goes to another place. And so we're all in this together. If we as a state do not shift the dollars to make sure that we are not in a place where 41.5% of our people are on the sidelines, we are going to continue to struggle financially as a state. We have an opportunity to set this right. My magic wand is to put Louisiana's community and technical colleges on a level playing field from a funding point of view with the rest of the southern region, which, by the way, receives 40 cents on the dollar of the total higher education budget, state by state. We're sitting at 23%. Our Board of Regents is funding institutions rather than funding people being lifted out of poverty. That, to me, is the critical decision that must be made in the months and weeks ahead.
Awesome. Hopefully we're going to get there.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I know that you're going to do a great job advocating for that.
Let me just say this. Not only are we going to do a great job advocating for it, but even if the Board of Regents continues to turn a blind eye to this, we know that we still have a responsibility to the people of Louisiana, and we will get the job done in spite of a Board of Regents that is struggling to make good public policy right now.
You know, and that I think that's one of the hallmarks of our system is that just like the people of Louisiana, we pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and we figure out a way.
That's right.
Right? We figure out a way forward. And I'm looking forward to what that journey looks like and that next step looks like.
I am as well.
So before we close, I always like to wrap it back around to maybe some more personal questions to wrap us up. And so
Hope you haven't been talking to my wife.
Maybe I have. But I was going to ask you about your grandkids and the property, which you mentioned, but I'm going to pivot. I'm going to throw you a curveball.
Okay.
So we just came through Halloween, headed into Thanksgiving and the season of gratitude, and very grateful that you joined us here today. But I want to ask you about your Halloween decorations. I hear that you put on a heck of a show at your house.
Look, it is a passion of my wife's. And as a result of it being a passion of my wife's, it is now a passion of mine. Okay,
there you go.
And
right answer.
So yes, the right answer. It's something that just developed for us because I enjoy seeing the bright eyes of our kids, because the wonder on a kid's face is pure, and too often I find as adults we lose that along the way. So part of the fun for us is to see those kids come by and to look up and wonder, knowing what's possible, and to hope that those young people are able to hold on to that vision of what's possible across time, to remember there were good people who made me smile. There were good people that offered candy for trick-or-treating, but there were good people as neighbors, because so much of our work is really about providing stability. It's about ensuring stability for individuals. To have that individual say, I can do this. Translation back to when they have that conversation with their child, when they're much more proud, they believe in themselves. Their child then, by virtue of that, gains stability. The community gains stability. So for me, I love community. I love people. I love being around people. And so when the kids gather at our home for Halloween, or for that matter for Christmas, and they're able to come and see the decorations and to be excited about it. To me, I love the excitement, and I really believe that Louisiana's best days are ahead of us. And when you look in the eyes of those kids, you know that Louisiana's best days are ahead of us.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, I'm going to end with our last question, and we'll end every interview with this last question. But if you have a piece of advice that you would like to share with our listening and our watching audience, what would that piece of advice be?
I think I was driving down today thinking to myself, I'm excited to be a Fletcher Falcon today. And I think what I would suggest to every person in this community, every person within the listening audience of this podcast, is, what is my role in this community to help lift people? Is it really okay to go down to your local retail outlet and to not speak to the person at the register and to not think about the fact that their life circumstance is probably not all that great? I challenge every one of you that can hear this voice. When you run into those people and you look them dead in the eye, ask them how you can help. Refer them to the college. Get your tail down to Fletcher Technical Community College and let's get some education and let's change this game. That is the challenge that every one of us are put on this planet, to help others. One of my favorite quotations, and I won't get the citation right, but it is as metal sharpens metal, so too shall man sharpen man. That is your responsibility. You were put on this planet to do that. And so when you walk into that outlet and you see a young person, or maybe not such a young person, who's struggling in life, help them get down to the college. Walk them to the college. Take them to the admissions office. Put them in touch with somebody that you know is going to help them find a better life. It is not outside of the realm of possibility that just because you work at a local business that is not necessarily affiliated with a college, you still have a responsibility to people. I urge you, as you walk into those outlets and you see those people, be the person that has the twinkle in your eye, that makes sure that others understand there's hope, there's opportunity, and it starts at Fletcher Technical Community College.
Great advice. Great advice. And what a way to end our first episode.
Well,
I appreciate you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your experience and your knowledge and your wisdom and your passion.
well,
It's certainly, we are lucky to have you leading our system.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for your leadership. What I see when I drive onto this campus is incredible as compared to where it was when you walked onto this campus for the first time. I look at the innovation that occurs within each sphere of each of the leaders. It's one of the most fun things that I get the opportunity to see. So thank you for this.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for joining us here at Bridging the Bayou, a podcast of Fletcher Technical Community College. And we hope that you will listen and watch regularly. This is our first episode, but we have some really exciting guests coming up in the upcoming weeks. And we are going to continue to talk to individuals both in our community and around the state who are working really hard every single day to make sure that individuals in our state have the greatest opportunities that they can, and that we are looking to uplift not only all individuals, but our state as a whole. Yes. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for listening to Bridging the Bayou, the podcast of Fletcher Technical Community College. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.